Share screen. I want to share this screen. Let's see, screen 2. All right, share. Give that a second. All right, can you guys see this?
Yeah.
No,
The indoor training using Zwift?
it was there a minute ago. I can't see it now.
Now it's blue. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, let me see. This is what technical difficulties. Okay, can you see
There
it?
we go.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, indoor training using Zwift. So this is actually a PDF of a presentation that Tanya Gregory and I gave at Colonial back this winter when we did a Zwift indoor winter training series. So this was a good little intro of what do you need to get started. So I'm just going to jump right into it. So at a very minimum, you need a bike. I'm sure you all have bikes if you're on this call, right? You're looking for more ways to ride them. You need a trainer, and you need a device to run Zwift. So that could be anything from a computer to a smartphone to Apple TV to an iPad. I'll go over what the compatibility is, but that's the bare minimum you need. So you don't need to have a fancy smart trainer. You can have a trainer, just a regular trainer that you lock your wheel into, as long as you have a speed sensor on the back wheel or reading off of the back wheel, because that is how Zwift is going to know how fast you're moving in the virtual world. So the nice to haves are a heart rate monitor, speed or cadence sensors if they're not integrated into your trainer or bike, and a power meter, which is kind of the holy grail of training. So those are the minimum requirements. And then supported devices to run Zwift. So like I said, you know, Android, iPhone, iPad, Apple TV, or just your laptop, computer are all great choices, and there's some minimum specs here if you want to go back and make sure your device is compatible. So like I said, a trainer, besides your bike, the trainer is the next most important thing. There are many different types of trainers. There's what we call a direct drive trainer, which is where you take the rear wheel off of your bike and you put the chain like on a cassette on the trainer, and the trainer is going to adjust resistance for you. It's pretty fancy, called smart trainers. You can also have a wheel-on trainer where you keep the rear wheel on your bike and it locks into your trainer. And that could be either a smart trainer or it could be what I like to call a dumb trainer, or your classic trainer, I guess is the better word to use. And for that type of trainer, you're going to get some wear on your rear tire. So just know they do sell trainer tires, or you can just use an old tire, but it's going to wear down. It's going to get like a metal stripe on it, but it's not really a big deal. Rollers, kind of advanced level stuff. There's nothing locking you in. You're just spinning on the rollers. So I don't think many people use those, especially for workouts, because you really have to pay attention. But they're great for your core and your balance. Or an indoor bike. So you can use a whole indoor bike, like not your road bike, if you want to go super fancy. But not the Peloton. You can't use the Peloton. That is not compatible. So if a smart trainer is not being used, resistance can't be adjusted automatically. But like I said, if you just have a speed sensor or a power meter on there, you'll have a better experience, because then that's some way to gauge what your virtual speed is in the world of Zwift and Watopia. And actually, if you have any questions at any time, you can feel free to ping me on the chat or speak up, because there are not too many people. So like I said, direct drive, smart trainers. You've probably heard of like the Wahoo Kicker Snap. There's the Hammer. There are various models where you take the rear wheel off, and there's a cassette. I'm pointing to it, but you can't see. There's a cassette actually on the trainer itself. So these are fancy. They'll run you a bit more coin, but honestly, they're smooth, and they make the whole Zwift experience more enjoyable. Living in New England in the winter, I don't know what I ever did without one of these, but once I got it, there was no going back. So, you know, don't try one of these unless you're prepared to like go for it, because you'll want one. So like I said, the classic wheel-on trainers look like this. I'm guessing a lot of folks have seen or own a classic trainer where you lock the rear wheel in. Works for quick release through axle. You know, your tires going, spinning on the roller, spinning the flywheel. Depending on the type of trainer you have might have a noisy trainer, you might have a quieter trainer. You know, I have like a fluid trainer that's pretty quiet, and I use that for race warm-ups because I can take it outside. But then my smart trainer lives in my permanent Zwift setup, my bike cave downstairs. Rollers, just pretty much like don't use rollers for Zwift. And if you do, send me video, because I'm dying to see like Zwifting on the rollers and doing a workout. Yeah, you've got some skills. Then the indoor bike, which I mentioned, if you want to get fancy, there's many companies that make them. Watt Bike, SRS makes one. Honestly, I haven't tried any of these, so I can't speak to them. I own plenty of bikes, so I just lock my bike into the trainer. That's good enough for me until I can go out on the road. And then sensors. So like I said, if it's not a smart trainer that you're using, you'll need a power meter or a speed sensor to get that connection with Zwift, so Zwift knows how fast you're moving. So Zwift supports all models on the market that connect via ANT Plus or Bluetooth low energy sensors. There's very little I've seen that's not compatible. So you can always check online before you buy something, or feel free to message me if you don't know if your equipment will work. So pairing devices, when you go into Zwift, you're going to see a screen like this, and you're going to have to wake up your devices. I see one big thing that tends to happen with people is you have to turn the crank on your bike to wake up your sensors, or sometimes with your heart rate monitor, you have to lick the electrodes or put some spit on your fingers and kind of rub it in. Because until it gets sweaty, it might not wake up and recognize. I think we've all done that with our bike computers. But then this is where you pair your devices, and they'll light up blue here when your Zwift software sees your paired device. Like this. So in this particular instance, this is like a Wahoo smart trainer that is paired to Zwift. So then you would click OK. So you can also pair devices using a companion app. So Zwift, you go, this virtual background is making it so I can't show you my phone. But anyway, if you go to the App Store, you can download what's called the Zwift companion app. And it turns, it's like a remote control for Zwift. So it lets you do things like pair sensors. It lets you be a little more social with Zwift. You can send messages while you're riding right from your phone. You can give people ride-ons. You can see like if your friends are Zwifting and give them a little thumbs up. I do that sometimes. So yeah, and you can do a U-turn if you want to turn around in the world. So the Zwift companion app is really handy to have running. You know, otherwise you're kind of leaning over to your full-size laptop when you're trying to Zwift, and that isn't always the easiest to do. You can also get this slick little mount that fits in your Garmin or your computer mount that's coming off of your bike. You can put it on the back of your phone and lock your phone into your bike. So you have like your little remote control sticking off of your bike. Get really high tech. So riding in Zwift, there's a few different things you can do. You can select something called Just Ride, where you just, you know, you start up and join a world and just ride. You can do events, which are anything from, you know, group rides to grand fondos to rides for a cause. Sometimes they have, you know, well, nowadays they have a lot of pros on because there aren't any races. So you can join them for big group rides, and it's really kind of cool. You can also do workouts in Zwift. So you can build your own custom workouts. And Zwift has a big library of workouts you can select from. And you can even do like a whole program through Zwift, depending on what you're trying to do with your fitness. And it's nothing extra that you have to pay for. It's just in the training menu. So that's pretty cool. And then training plans. So if you are working with a coach, like I'll upload custom workouts into software called Training Peaks, and you can link that with Zwift. So the day of the workout, it will automatically be populated in there, and you just pick today's workout and do the ride, which is really cool. Especially now that it's harder to go out and, you know, go down the beach doing crazy intervals without worry of, you know, running into a bunch of people. So nowadays, if you're doing that training, that focused training, it's nice to be able to do it on the trainer. Joining events. So the screen is kind of really hard to see, but you can join events by either signing up through the Zwift website, so zwift.com/events, or through that Zwift companion app on your cell phone. There's an events tab, and you can use filters to see, you know, whatever type of event you're looking for. So once you decide which one you want to attend, you can hit the little plus sign, and it will automatically send you reminders when your event is getting close. So if your ride is scheduled within the hour and you're in the Zwift world, it'll pop up a little screen in the bottom, and it will say, do you want to join your event? And you click it, and it will just take you to that world. And I'll get a little bit more into how to determine what category to sign up for later. But you'll see like group A, B, C, D, E, and then the speeds, you know, anything from open to, you know, 4+ watts per kg. What does that mean? I don't want to lose anyone with the technical jargon, but it's really important to know what group you want to sign up for. So when you go to an event, you know that you'll be able to keep up with the pace, and that's a reasonable event for you to be joining, so that you don't get dropped or it's not too slow. So I can go into how to determine that. Starting events. So like I said, you get a little pop-up, and basically this whole slide is just saying click join event. And then there's a ride leader. So you see in my little background, there's this little, I'm trying to point to it, but it's reversed. There's this little arrow, this little indicator over the ride leader. So you would just stay with them, stay behind them, and they lead the workout, and they're able to speak to the whole group and type, and it shows up on everybody's screen. So it's pretty cool. So like I said, chatting in Zwift, you can use your keyboard, you can use the companion app. It's just like texting. It's pretty cool. If you're riding with a group, you can talk to just your group. You can direct message people. Or if you're just out in the open world and you want to say hi to people, you can type and it will show up to everyone within 500 fake meters that you're riding with. So I actually have a link in here for the winter training series chat. So we were using, I don't know who that is. So we were using an app called Discord to talk with each other. It's gamer chat, and anyway, was probably out of the scope of this presentation. But if you want to know about Discord, I can tell you more. It's really fun if you want to chat with your friends. Although I assume you could just open up Zoom and everybody could suffer and also Zwift at the same time. You know, if you have unlimited bandwidth with your internet connection and multiple computers, you could go crazy. So this was just this. Well, this is a slide deck from the winter. So this is going over, you know, what we did this winter. But I'm also running a spring training series Tuesday nights at 6 p.m. on Zwift that you can find under events in the companion app. If anyone's interested, it's running for another 9 or 10 weeks now. We have a 12-week series, so yeah. Close this one. Oh, I got a question over here. If you have a Star Track indoor bike, would you have to add both a power meter and a speed sensor? If that is a smart bike, I believe it's probably integrated, but to tell you the truth, I don't know. It's not a smart bike. Yes, then you would have to. You would need either a power meter or a speed sensor. If you have a power meter, there's no need to have the speed sensor because that's what Zwift uses to calculate how fast you're going.
So the power meter does both the speed and the effort, if you will?
Yeah, so when you set up Zwift, like you have a profile and you have your weight in there. So the power is going to be in watts and your weight is in kilograms, and it will calculate your virtual power watts per kg.
Okay.
So that's how it determines output.
Got
You
it.
could also just go with a speed sensor because that's going to be the much cheaper option. Power meters generally aren't cheap. Maybe if you had power meter pedals, you could swap them over, and that might be a nice idea. But yeah, you know, you could spend $1,000 on a power meter, so
Wow. Okay.
you might as well. Or you get for $200-300 maybe a power meter crank arm put on your bike. But you know, speed sensor is going to cost you. I'm going to make up a number, $40.
Yeah, a lot cheaper.
$5, something. Yeah.
Okay.
I think that's a lot better option.
Thank you.
Yeah, any other questions on the setup? I know I kind of went through that quickly and didn't stop to breathe much. I feel like I'm just reading off of the screen. Let's see, okay. I don't have any questions yet. I'm gonna drag this second presentation over here. Present. Okay. Fancy. Drag my video over here. All right, everybody see that? Anybody see that?
Okay, yep.
Yeah, we can see
Yeah.
it.
I can see it.
The how-to guide?
Yes, for Zwift
Okay.
events. Yep, we got it.
So this is fun because this is actually a screenshot of me and my friend April riding virtual mountain bikes in virtual Zwift a couple weeks ago. We did a group ride. It was nice to have the motivation to ride with somebody. You know, you see the little avatars, but you know they're actually real people. So as silly as that is, sometimes that's all the motivation you need to push a little harder, because you know, oh, that's my friend, and they're gonna know if I stop pedaling. So yeah, that's me in April. So I just made this today based on the questions that were sent before the invite went out. So people had reached out and had a few questions on, you know, what can you do with Zwift besides just ride? So besides just riding, you can do workouts. You can join events like a ride, a Grand Fondo, a race, or a group workout. You can also do meetups where you can use the Zwift mobile app or the companion app and invite your friends. So you could ride, you can pick the route, and you can pick this setting called keep everyone together. Zwift just updated 2 or 3 days ago, and they increased the limit. So now you can invite up to 100 of your friends. So I don't know about you, but I don't have 100 Zwift friends. So, oh, I've got a question in the chat box I'm going to answer. You have a range of pricing to get set up using just a trainer. I have a classic trainer. So if you have a trainer, you have a bike, Zwift is $15 a month. And I'm assuming you have a speed sensor. If you don't, you would need to get a speed sensor at the very least, which would run you some made up amount of money. I'm not going to offer that up, but you should call your local bike shops and see what they have in stock, because a lot of them, they're open now. You can shop online on their catalogs. You can also call the shop or email. And a lot of shops in our area are doing like touch-free pickup and maintenance. So I would reach out to them now and give them your business. Stuff is wicked slow from Amazon now, right now. So, okay. So I talked about workouts and, you know, how do you determine what category to sign up for? So you'll see like category A, B, C, D, and you'll see these numbers after them. And you might be thinking, oh, I don't know, I'm D or E, but you have no idea. So these categories are based off of something called FTP, or functional threshold power. What does that mean? That's the highest power you can sustain for an hour. Where if you go above this number, you're going to fatigue very quickly. It's not that you can't ride above that number, but like for a sustained period of time, you're going to fatigue very quickly. And I won't get any more technical than that, but I could ramble about this for a long time. So the practical use in Zwift. So this is used to determine your ride category and your training zones for meaningful workouts, and also finding rides within your skill level. So what you would do is, I'll tell you how to take one of these tests, but you would take that number and divide it by your weight in kilograms. So 1 pound is 2.2 kgs. So here's a hypothetical example here for a rider who has an FTP of 200 watts and weighs 175 pounds. Their watts per kg, or power ratio, would be 2.5. So that's the number that you're going to equate to this A, B, C, or D category. And this will help you join events where you can keep up, and you know, they're not too fast, they're not too slow. It's going to be the right level for where you're riding. So here are some screenshots, and here's an example of, on the very left, the filters you can use. You know, if you know your group, the first little bullet is actually female. There are women only rides you can search for. And then there's the A, B, C, D, E category, where A is usually, you know, your hardest, fastest type workout or event. and E is everybody, like it either doesn't have a minimum or it's a very low, easy recovery or beginner ride. So
And can I ask a question?
yeah.
On Zwift, I don't think I've ever seen where you find cycling filters like that.
Yeah, so this is actually on the mobile app. Have you used
Oh, okay.
I keep calling it the mobile app. It's called the Zwift Companion app.
Right. Okay.
So, yeah, so what you would do is click on events on the bottom,
Okay.
and then filters on the top of this first left screen.
Okay.
And that's where you would get this menu. And it just helps you whittle down events that might be what you're trying to target. So you don't see every single event. So I've got a few questions. What brand do you trust most for sensors? Do you have a few links you can share with the group and She Rides Facebook page after the presentation? Absolutely. I'll share those, but like Garmin, Wahoo, anything like that, which is pretty standard. A lot of people use those, and the bike shops probably have them in stock. And then another question, how do you select training based on your FTP? Right. Okay, so on the screen, you see this ABCD group. If you go over to the third screenshot here, you see D and women's only, and you see average 1.5 to 2 watts per kid. So now this should mean something to you. So you know, if your FTP falls within this range, then you should filter for like category D. And you can join that event. And a lot of events, you'll see in this middle screenshot, you'll see the RoFA Endurance Spring Training Series. That's the one I'm running. It's category E. That means it doesn't matter what group you're in. Everybody's going to stay together. And as long as you're pedaling the bike to your own output, you're going to stay together. The only way to get dropped is to stop pedaling. And this bottom one, this classic flat race, is categories A, B, C, and D. So, you know, everybody can do this race at once, but they'll be grouped by category. So hopefully that means a little bit more to you now, rather than just seeing these numbers and wondering, you know, what does this mean to me? Are there rides built into Zwift that help you determine your FTP, or does Zwift help you calculate your FTP based on time spent riding in events? Yes and yes. So I think my next slide is actually, how do I determine my FTP? It's actually built right into Zwift, a couple of different ways to test this. And you can load this from the start screen. You would go to select workout, and on the left, not on the left, on this right-hand screenshot here, you see FTP test. There's a few. There's the, you know, classic warm up and do 20-minute all-out power, or there's something called the ramp test. That's an option. Either of these should help you get a fairly decent estimate to start training and riding in the right events in Zwift. So you see it gives you a little description here on the screen too, like pace yourself and try to go as hard as you can sustain for 20 minutes. I think it's a skill in and of itself to do an FTP test, because a lot of people will go out way too hard and then they're like, oh, I can't do this for 20 minutes. So it might take you a couple of tries, and it's awful. Nobody likes doing FTP tests. Nobody does. If they say they do, they're lying. And will Zwift increase your FTP as you progress or regress throughout your training? Well, it will definitely tell you if you've reached a new threshold. So if you do a ride or a workout and you really crush it, it'll actually pop up a box and it will be like, ooh, new FTP detected. What it's not going to do is lower it for you automatically. So what you're going to find is throughout the year, you're going to increase your fitness, and your fitness will decrease depending on your training load and your events. But you might just naturally feel stronger or weaker throughout the year, depending on how much you've been riding or racing. So, you know, once you think it's off, you know, once you have that number, you can do two things. You can take another FTP test if you really want to torture yourself, or you can just drop it like 10, 20 watts and do a workout and see if that made it better. I know during the winter, you know, your FTP can drop quite a bit, and I'm always convinced my trainer is broken. And no matter how many times I tell like athletes that I coach, or I'm told, that I'm convinced it's the trainer. So I almost went to the store to buy a new trainer this year. But I didn't, and I suffered through it, and, you know, I probably decreased my FTP about 30 to 40 watts in the winter, and that's normal. So it's not just you didn't get worse, it's a normal thing, and you need to let your body have these training peaks and valleys so that you can recover, and, you know, you'll come back, and you'll come back stronger, but don't beat yourself up if your FTP goes down. Happens to everybody. So FTP updating. This is the screen that you'll get when you finish an FTP test. And like you see at the bottom left here, update FTP. It's like, congratulations. It looks like you increased your FTP. Would you like to update it in your profile? If you click OK, Zwift will just update that for you. And if you forget what that number is, you can go into your user profile at any time and you can see it there. One thing Zwift doesn't do is calculate the watts per kg. You have to do that manually. So take your FTP in watts divided by your weight in kilograms, and that is your watts per kg number that you want to look for. What is this? How often should you test? Monthly, quarterly? It depends on, you know, how serious you want to get with this, and how well you kind of know yourself, and kind of how much your FTP rises and falls. I mean, you could test yourself every 6 weeks if you wanted. I certainly don't. I just kind of adjust it. But yeah, when you're starting out, it's definitely good to get that number, either from doing an FTP test, or if you did a really hard ride and you know, this is as hard as I can push, it was a race. Usually a coach can look at your data and get a really good idea of what that number should be. So, but if you're just doing it yourself, you can take an FTP test in Zwift and tell me how much you love doing that. And take pictures of sweat on the floor. Get yourself a nice fan and a towel if you're Zwifting, especially doing an FTP test. So you've got your FTP, and now what can you do with this information? Now you can do Zwift workouts and group rides. So one of the built-in functions in Zwift, you know, they've got time-dependent workouts, like less than an hour to burn, 60 to 90 minutes, 90 plus. So you'll see over on the right here, there's a little slider, and you can adjust your FTP to make it harder or easier as your FTP changes. And it will adjust the whole workout for you. So you slide that to your number, and you hit workout, and that's it. It's as easy as that. You've already put in the hard work of doing the test. So you know, you need to make sure, if it feels like something's off, go back in here and make sure you didn't accidentally adjust this number, because that's one key way to know if something's off. Okay, so that's all I have for FTP, and I was going to go into erg mode or arg mode, yes, next. But does anyone have any questions on workouts and FTP and kind of like what this means to you? If not, right. I'm going to go into erg mode because this is something that I get asked a lot. Should I use erg or not? So actually on the screen before this, see in the bottom, it says use erg mode and it's checked. So erg mode, I guess it comes from the Greek ergasia or I don't know, which means work. So erg mode is literally forcing you to work at a particular level. So you don't need to shift your bike. All you do is adjust your cadence, and your trainer, and this is a smart trainer I'm talking about, either a wheel on or a direct drive trainer, your trainer will adjust the resistance depending on how fast or slow you're pedaling to meet the output on the screen. So this isn't useful if you're just riding around in a group ride. But if you're doing a workout, like a training workout, this is something that is actually really nice because it takes some of the thinking out and puts you on autopilot. So if you're, if you're doing a longer interval, a couple of minutes to like 10, 20 minutes, you can pull up Netflix on the other screen and just grind it out and know that you're hitting the right zone because the trainer is controlling it for you. So like it says at the bottom here, your only job in erg mode is to manage your cadence. You don't need to worry about shifting, but you can shift. So yeah, I tell people try it out and see if you like it. I like it a lot, but not for short intervals of 30 seconds or shorter. You can run into some issues. Well, this is a whole slide about when to turn it on and off. So I think it's enabled by default on most trainers on Zwift. So like in the workout screen, that's where you could find it. But if you're actually riding in Zwift and you're like, oh, this is really annoying, I want to turn erg on, or oh, I really wish I could turn erg off. If you hit the up arrow on your screen, you'll get this little blue bar. You can also see this in the companion app, I believe. You can turn erg on and off by just clicking on that button. So on your keyboard, hit up and you'll find that. Or on Apple TV, swiping up will let you access this menu. I've never used Apple TV. I don't even really know what that is, but yeah, it's as easy as that. But erg or arg mode, when it all goes wrong, inevitably erg is going to bite you and you're going to hit the spiral of death. Everybody experiences it and they think their trainer is broken. They ask me what was wrong when there's nothing really wrong with it. So this is a torturous event when you're in erg mode attempting to hold, say you're trying to hold like a really high wattage and your legs get tired and your cadence slows down. So, you've slowed down your pedaling. So the trainer's like, well, I'm just going to adjust and make it harder for you until you feel like your legs are in cement. So eventually the flywheel just stops and you're stuck thinking, your trainer is broken or it needs to be reset. I would say it's something that you need to get used to. And, if this happens to you, you can shut erg off for a minute. Sometimes Zwift will shut it off for you until you spin back up into the effort and then it will turn it back on. But, everybody experiences issues. One thing I've had to do if the flywheel goes too fast or too slow is actually get off the trainer, unplug it really quickly, and then plug it in to reset it. These are all kind of tricks. if something goes horribly wrong in the middle of your workout or ride and you're just trying to get going again. Yeah, don't think your trainer is broken. It's just sometimes you need to trick it, and you kind of need to learn how it adjusts on you. Little Q&A here. So these are questions that I had sent in. So I wanted to go over some of them. I went over in the content itself, but some I didn't particularly. So I've been doing the training, and it will say increase cadence. When I pedal faster, I get message lower power. Should I be shifting to accommodate this? Yes. So absolutely. It sounds like you're in too big of a gear. So if you downshift, assuming it's not a smart trainer, yep, you use your gears. Stop crushing it on Zwift. When I click view route, the route I'm on doesn't change. I don't know the specifics behind this, but I did add some screenshots in the bottom here. So this is how you change a route. From the menu, you would go to routes and then select a route here and then click OK. Anyway, I'll get back to you if that's not a good enough answer. And then I'm going at 110 cadence, and it says my speed is 2 miles an hour. Is that right? Probably not, but maybe. So it doesn't sound right to me unless you're going up a really big hill. 110 cadence isn't all I need to know to answer the question. I guess, it could be something like the wheel not being, the resistance roller not being tightened fully against your rear wheel of your bike, or you're in way too low of a gear. It sounds like it could be something like that going on. Hopefully that's helpful. Actually, my last slide. So, yeah, open it up for questions, comments. Is there anything anyone's dying to know or know more about?
Jen, if I have some questions after this, would it be okay with me private messaging you?
Absolutely. Yeah.
This has definitely answered some things that I need to troubleshoot, and I need to go back on the trainer and try again. And then depending on the feedback I get, I might have some more questions.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, thanks.
I know everybody probably has some little nuances specific to them, but oh, I got a question here. What's your favorite or go-to routine on Zwift? My favorite thing to do has been the group workouts, because it's really motivating to know that you're riding with other real people. That's, I think, why I wanted to continue the training series that Tanya and I started in the winter. So I'm actually building custom workouts with my coach and uploading them to Zwift. And so for an hour, everybody's doing the same workout. They're hitting their own numbers, but they're doing the same workout. And, all I have to do is focus on my suffering. And I know that everybody else is suffering and sweating along with me. And one thing I can't stress enough for what you need for Zwift is a towel for sweat and a fan. If you can get a fan with a remote control, you will be golden. And also music. And another tip is to wash the crusty salt off of your bike. It will eat your drivetrain. Like driving around New England roads in the winter, how you would never have your nice shiny road bike on the back of that during a snowstorm. Think about all the sweat you're raining down, all the salt you're raining down on your poor bike. So you might not think about it, but you know, don't leave it locked on to the trainer. Take it out periodically and hose it down and take care of your drivetrain, lube your chain and clean your poor crusty frame. Your bike will thank you. I'm trying to think of my other Zwift tips and tricks. Some local ladies have started a race series on Thursday mornings that I'm going to try out this Thursday. And that's crazy. It's not like racing in real life because you're pedaling the whole time and drafting isn't the same. But I think Zwift racing can be fun if you think of it as a game. Like, this is a video game. There are power-ups. There are unique Zwift physics. And it's never going to be exactly the same. There's no real danger, which some people are happy about. I think it kind of ruins the racing experience to not actually have that thrill of actual danger. But it's also safe right now, you know, and it's a way to kind of burn off your energy and stay safe, which is great because none of us want to end up in the hospital right now. So, you know, if you're looking for a way to burn off your energy, maybe try one of these Zwift races. There's a Team Fearless ladies race series, and it covers everybody from completely newbie categories, 1 lap, to all out pro-am level. Even USA Cycling is coming on board with Zwift, which is crazy. There we go, now I can see you all. This video screen was tiny here. That was a great intro, thanks. Thanks, Jen. Thanks, everybody. I'm not really sure what else to go over, so I'll leave it open for questions here for another minute. Otherwise, I would say if you have something that's really specific to your setup and you're dying to know, you know, what you're doing wrong or what could be better, feel free to shoot me a message or leave a message on the She Rides page. That would be cool. I have to share one more cool thing that I've done with my bike cave. I don't have a picture to show, but I have like a 46-inch TV mounted on a swivel, and then I've got my little Wahoo desk and my laptop. I have hooked up an Echo Dot, so the Alexa Dot thingy, to voice control my music through a Bluetooth speaker. And I just tell it what I want to listen to, or I tell it to set interval timers, and I can control both the volume and like the songs I'm listening to. So if I need to crush a really hard interval, I just, you know, turn the volume up and play something crazy, and then I can tell it to quiet down and play something chill or mute altogether. So that's my technology tip. Move your faces over here. There we go. Awesome. We got 5 minutes left. What's everybody doing this week for bike rides? Anybody on Zwift now? Write that over. I'm going to be Zwifting tomorrow night. I'll share the link again, but would love to see more local Zwifters until we can ride outside, although I'm still riding outside. It's just a supplement. All right, well, probably going to wrap up then and go get some more food because I am hungry. But if you have any questions, feel free to leave them or message me. And also, if you have an idea for any virtual clinics that She Rides could do, let us know. Because now we have this spiffy new Zoom account. Thanks to Anne for setting that up. This is pretty cool. And yeah, we were talking about maybe doing like a panel discussion, come up with some topics that people are dying to know about. What's your favorite chamois butter? What's your favorite ride food? What are your favorite bike routes? Things like that to keep us all sane, since we can't do these clinics like the gear swap or anything in person right now. We want to do something useful that's fun. And the last thing we want to do is a boring Zoom call, because some of us have had enough of those. So,
Okay.
All right. Well, thanks everybody. I'm gonna close it out, and I think I have recorded this, so I might be able to put it up online to share. So if you have any friends you want to get into Zwift, send them our way to She Rides.
Thank you, Jen. This was great.
Thanks everybody. Have a good night.
Thanks, Jen.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jen.
Bye, Jen.
Bye, Jen.
Bye.